Welcome to my channel, Unleash Your English, my friends. Let me ask you something. What if I told you that you can improve your English even while you sleep? Sounds lazy, right? But what if this lazy way actually works? What if your brain could learn new words, remember sentences, and make English feel natural without books, stress, or endless grammar rules? In today's video, I'll share how I used my sleep time to boost my English faster than ever before. Stay till the end, because this could change how you think about learning forever. Chapter 1. I wanted to learn without stress. I still remember the time when learning English felt like climbing a mountain. Every day I sat with my notebook, reading grammar rules, repeating verbs, and still feeling lost. The more I studied, the more tired I became. My head was full of words, but my heart felt heavy. I wanted to speak fluently, but stress was always with me. I tried to memorize lists. I forced myself to study, but nothing stayed in my mind for long. It felt like I was running fast but not moving anywhere. One night, I closed my book and just stared at the ceiling. I thought, why does learning English feel like pain? I didn't want to hate this language. I loved English. I loved the way it sounded in movies, in songs, and in people's voices. But I didn't want to spend every night fighting with grammar rules. I wanted English to be part of my life naturally, without pressure. I wanted it to be simple, fun, and relaxing. I wanted to feel free, not afraid of making mistakes. That night, something changed inside me. I realized that maybe I didn't need to study harder. Maybe I needed to study smarter. I started searching for a way to learn that wouldn't drain my energy. And then I read something that caught my attention. It said, "Your brain never really sleeps. Even when you are sleeping, it is listening, learning, and storing memories." I read that line again and again. It felt like a light turned on in my mind. Could I really learn English while sleeping? Could that be true? At first, I laughed at the idea. It sounded too lazy, too easy, too good to be real. But a small part of me wanted to believe it. I thought, what if this works? What if I can learn English in my sleep? It was like discovering a secret path that no teacher ever told me about. A calm way, a peaceful way, a lazy way that might actually change everything. I imagined going to sleep with English words flowing around me like soft music. No stress, no heavy books, just English becoming a part of my dreams. I smiled. For the first time, learning English didn't scare me. It made me feel curious. I wanted to try it. The next day, I felt a kind of motivation I had not felt before. It was quiet but strong. I went online and searched for slow English audio stories, affirmations, relaxing conversations. I thought, if my brain listens when I sleep, then I'll give it something beautiful to listen to. I didn't know if it would work, but I knew I wanted to feel peace again. I wanted English to make me happy, not stressed. I told myself, I will try for 1 week. That decision was small, but it was powerful. Because when you are tired of pressure, you need something simple. When you are tired of forcing yourself, you need something natural. That was my first small step toward learning English the calm way. That night, I prepared my bed, put my phone beside me, and played a soft English story. The voice was slow and gentle. It said things like, "You are learning. You are growing. You are confident." Those words felt warm. They didn't sound like lessons, they sounded like encouragement. I closed my eyes and let the words float in my mind like tiny lights. For the first time, I didn't feel like a student. I felt like a friend of the language. I wasn't studying, I was listening, I was relaxing, I was feeling. And slowly, my body fell asleep while my mind stayed awake in another world, the world of English. When I woke up the next morning, I didn't expect anything, but something strange happened. I remembered one sentence clearly: I am learning English every day. It kept echoing in my head. I smiled. It was small, but it was real. Something inside me had changed. That moment made me believe that learning doesn't always need pressure. Sometimes learning happens when you let go. Sometimes being calm helps your mind open. That was the night I stopped forcing English into my brain and started letting it enter my life naturally. It was the start of a new journey. A lazy one, maybe, but it was also a smart one. I learned that rest can teach you more than stress, that your mind can grow quietly while your body sleeps. From that day, I decided I will learn English peacefully, not painfully, and that one small decision became the turning point in my journey to fluency. Chapter 2: My First Night Experiment. That night felt different. I was not studying anymore. I was about to try something new, something strange, something that could change the way I learned English forever. I was nervous but also excited. I looked at my phone, opened YouTube, and searched for English while sleeping. Hundreds of videos appeared. Some had calm music, some had soft voices repeating English sentences. I clicked one that said Positive English for Beginners. The voice was slow and gentle, like someone talking to a child with kindness. I remember lying down, feeling the pillow under my head. The room was dark, quiet, and peaceful. My phone was beside me, playing that soft English audio. The voice said things like, "You are learning every day. You are improving. You can speak English." The sentences were simple, but they felt powerful. I closed my eyes and tried not to think too much. I just wanted to listen. I wanted my brain to take the words inside, even if I was not awake to remember them. At first, my mind was noisy. I kept thinking, will this really work? Or am I wasting my time? I almost wanted to stop. But I told myself, just relax. Let it happen. The voice kept repeating the words slowly. I am learning English. I am confident. I can speak. Slowly, I stopped thinking. My body started to relax. The sentences felt like a song, and my mind started to float away. I fell asleep listening to English for the first time in my life. When I woke up the next morning, the first thing I heard was the same voice. My phone was still playing the audio. I opened my eyes slowly. The sunlight touched my face and I smiled. I didn't know why, but I felt calm. It was not like any other morning. I felt light, peaceful, and ready. I sat up and tried to remember what I heard during the night, and then it happened. My mouth started to say something without effort. I whispered, I am learning every day. That small sentence felt like a victory. It was proof that something inside me was changing. I didn't memorize it, I didn't write it down, but I remembered it. My brain had kept it safe while I slept. That moment made me believe that this lazy way might not be lazy at all. Maybe it was the smart way. Maybe this was how babies learn too, by listening again and again until the words became natural. All day those sentences stayed in my head. I kept repeating them while brushing my teeth, while eating breakfast, while walking outside. I am learning every day. I am improving. I can speak. I could almost hear that soft voice inside my mind. I smiled because English was finally starting to live in my head. It didn't feel like a lesson anymore. It felt like a friend who was whispering kind words to me. That night I decided to do it again, but this time I was more careful. I chose another audio, an English story told slowly. It was about a traveler visiting new places. The voice was calm and full of emotion. I wanted my brain to hear real sentences, not just short phrases. so I let it play and closed my eyes again. The story continued while I drifted into sleep. The sound of English wrapped around me like a blanket. The next morning, something beautiful happened again. When I woke up, I didn't just remember one sentence, I remembered a feeling. I felt like English had entered my heart. I started to understand more of what I heard. I noticed the rhythm of the words, the way they sounded, the way they connected. I was not forcing anything, I was just listening and feeling. It was the easiest learning I had ever experienced. From that moment, I knew I had found something special. My experiment worked because I believed in it. I learned that sometimes the secret is not in studying harder. It is in trusting your brain to do the work quietly. While you sleep, your mind is still awake in its own world. And if you give it good English to listen to, it will reward you with understanding, confidence, and peace. That first week of trying this experiment changed everything for me. I no longer feared English. I respected it. I enjoyed it. I made peace with it. And every night, as I closed my eyes and listened, I knew that even while I slept, my dream of speaking fluent English was getting closer. Chapter 3: Why Sleep Learning Works. When I first heard that the brain keeps working while we sleep, I didn't believe it. How can we learn if we are not awake? But the more I explored, the more I realized how powerful our mind really is. Every night, even when our body rests, our brain is busy. It organizes memories, it connects ideas, it repeats things we heard during the day, it never truly stops. That is why we sometimes wake up with a solution to a problem or remember a song that played last night. Our brain listens, learns, and remembers quietly in the background. This is when I understood something amazing. If the brain can listen and remember, why not give it something useful to hear? Why not give it English? We spend 1/3 of our life sleeping. Imagine turning that time into a learning opportunity. You don't need books. You don't need stress. You just need a calm voice speaking English softly while you rest. It sounds simple, but the results can be powerful. I started to study how sleep affects learning. Scientists say that during sleep, our mind moves information from short-term memory to long-term memory. That means everything you listen to can find a deeper place inside your brain. The more you repeat it, the stronger the connection becomes. It's like planting seeds while you sleep, and each morning, they grow a little more. You might not feel it right away, but after a few nights you start to notice changes. Words sound familiar. Sentences come out naturally. You start to think in English without trying. Sleep learning works because it removes the biggest enemy of progress: pressure. When you are awake, you often worry. You think, will I remember this? Or what if I make a mistake? That stress blocks your learning. But when you are asleep, there is no fear, no stress, no judgment. Your mind is open and calm. It absorbs everything gently, like a sponge soaking up water. You don't even realize how much you are learning because you are relaxed. And that is the secret. The brain learns best when it feels safe and calm. I started noticing that my pronunciation improved too. It was not perfect, but it became smoother. The reason was simple. I was hearing native sounds every night. My brain was copying them silently. It was training my tongue, my ears, and my memory together. I didn't need to force myself to repeat hundreds of times. I was just listening, and my brain did the hard work for me. That made me believe that sleep learning is not about being lazy, it is about being smart. Sometimes people think learning must be difficult to be real, but that's not true. The best kind of learning happens naturally. When babies learn their first language, they don't sit with grammar books. They listen. They hear words again and again. They hear their parents' voices while they eat, play, and even sleep. Slowly, those sounds become part of them. Sleep learning works the same way. You hear English in a peaceful state, and your brain starts to treat it as part of your world. After a few weeks of listening every night, I felt a big change. My confidence grew. English didn't sound foreign anymore. It felt like my second home. I began to understand phrases I used to ignore. I didn't translate in my head as much. The flow of the language became natural. And the best part was that I didn't feel tired or stressed. I was learning even when I wasn't trying. That is the beauty of sleep learning. It teaches you to trust your mind. It shows that you don't need to fight with English, you just need to live with it. Let it enter your world gently. Let it stay in your dreams. Each night, let English walk quietly through your mind. Because one day, you will wake up and realize something powerful your brain was learning the whole time. Chapter 4. My sleep routine that changed everything. When I realized that learning English while sleeping could really work, I knew I had to make it a part of my life. But I also knew that it would only work if I made it a habit. So I started creating a small routine. Not a hard one, just a peaceful one that would make my nights meaningful. It was simple, relaxing, and full of purpose. I called it my English sleep routine. Every night before going to bed, I prepared my space. I made sure the room was quiet. I dimmed the lights. I took a few deep breaths to calm my mind. I wanted my brain to know that it was time to relax and listen. Then I picked one English audio. Sometimes it was a short story, sometimes it was a soft English conversation. Other times I listened to daily affirmations with slow, clear pronunciation. The goal was to fill my mind with positive English before I closed my eyes. I always chose recordings with calm voices, not too fast, not too loud. I learned that speed doesn't help your brain at night. Soft, slow English is like a friend whispering to you. It makes the language feel safe and beautiful. I used to smile while listening, even before sleeping. I didn't understand every word, but I didn't care. My goal was not to understand. My goal was to absorb. I just wanted the rhythm and music of English to live in my dreams. After a few nights, something amazing started happening. My brain began to connect the sounds. I started recognizing patterns. When I heard the same words during the day, they felt familiar. I realized that my mind had been working silently while I slept. It was collecting the pieces of English and building something inside me. It felt like magic, but I knew it was science too. My brain was doing what it does best, learning quietly, when no one is watching. One thing I learned quickly was that repetition is powerful. If you listen to the same audio for many nights, your brain remembers it better. At first, it feels boring, but after a few nights, those sentences start living inside you. You don't even notice when you begin to say them naturally. It feels like they belong to you. That's when you know your brain has accepted English as part of your world. I also made sure that my routine was peaceful. I didn't look at my phone screen. I didn't check messages. I didn't think about grammar or mistakes. I told myself, now is not study time. Now is English sleep time. That mindset helped me fall in love with learning again, because it didn't feel like work, it felt like care. I was caring for my mind and my dreams at the same time. Sometimes I even added soft background sounds like rain or waves. They made the experience more relaxing. English mixed with nature sounds created a calm world in my head. I often fell asleep smiling, feeling proud that I was learning even in my rest. It was the most peaceful kind of progress I had ever made. Morning became my favorite time. I would wake up, stretch, and try to recall one or two sentences I heard during the night. I didn't force it, I just let them come naturally. Often they did. Phrases like, I can do it, or every day I am improving, came easily. Those little sentences gave me energy and confidence for the whole day. After a few weeks of following this sleep routine, I realized I was changing. My listening improved, my pronunciation became softer, My confidence grew. I felt proud of myself because I was learning English in a way that matched my life. I didn't fight it anymore. I enjoyed it. I trusted my brain. And every night, when I closed my eyes, I knew that my mind was still working for my dreams. That was the secret. The routine was not about studying hard. It was about staying consistent, calm, and open. The more peaceful I became, the more English entered my world naturally. It taught me something beautiful. Learning does not always come from effort. Sometimes it comes from peace. And peace is what helps your brain remember everything it loves. Chapter 5: Mistakes I Made and Fixed. When I started learning English in my sleep, I thought it would be easy from the first night. I imagined that I would wake up fluent after a few days. But real learning is never that fast. In the beginning, I made many mistakes. I didn't know what to listen to. I didn't know how to set my routine properly. Some nights, I even gave up. But those mistakes became my best teachers. They showed me how to do it the right way. My first mistake was using the wrong kind of audio. I chose videos that were too fast. The speakers talked quickly, like in movies or news reports. I couldn't understand a single sentence, not even one word. My brain got confused instead of calm. I realized that when the words are too difficult, your brain stops listening. It shuts down. So I changed my plan. I started listening to slow English, beginner stories, and positive affirmations, and everything changed. My mind relaxed, my sleep felt deeper, my memory started working quietly. My second mistake was using earphones all night. I thought it would help me hear clearly, but it actually made me uncomfortable. Sometimes I woke up with pain in my ears. I couldn't rest properly. Then I learned that comfort is important. If your body is not relaxed, your brain cannot learn well. So I started playing English softly on a small speaker near my bed. The sound filled the room gently. I didn't need to wear earphones anymore. It felt peaceful, like English was floating in the air around me. Another mistake I made was changing my audio every single night. I thought more variety meant more learning, but that was wrong. When you listen to something different every night, your brain doesn't have time to remember. It keeps starting from zero. So I stopped jumping from one video to another. I picked one or two audios and repeated them for a whole week. The results surprised me. After a few days, I started remembering whole phrases. My brain loved the repetition. It made learning automatic. I also learned not to study before bed. At first, I tried to read grammar before sleeping. I wanted to prepare my brain, but that only made me tired. I went to sleep stressed, not calm. And when you are stressed, you don't absorb anything. I discovered that your brain learns best when you feel happy and relaxed. So before sleeping, I began saying simple positive sentences like, I enjoy learning English. I am improving every day. That small change made a big difference. It turned my night learning into something beautiful. One more mistake was expecting quick results. I wanted to feel fluent after just a few nights. But real progress takes time. The brain needs patience and kindness. So I stopped rushing. I told myself, you are learning even when you don't see it. That thought gave me peace. And slowly I began to notice small improvements. I understood more when listening. I felt more confident when speaking. The progress was quiet, but it was real. All these mistakes taught me one big lesson. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. Sleep learning is not magic. It's a gentle process. You don't control it. You trust it. And when you trust it, your mind begins to open. Every night becomes a small step toward fluency. Every mistake becomes a new piece of wisdom. So if you ever feel like you're doing it wrong, don't give up. You are still learning. The fact that you are trying means your brain is already growing. You just need to adjust, improve, and believe. That is how I turned my mistakes into motivation. Each one showed me the right way forward. Now, when I close my eyes at night and hear English in the background, I smile, because I know I am learning in peace. My mistakes no longer scare me, they guide me. They remind me that every learner's journey is full of small errors that lead to great success. That is the truth of learning English. The real growth begins when you stop fearing mistakes and start learning from them. Chapter 6. My Morning Magic. Every morning after my sleep learning nights felt special. I started waking up with a calm smile, not stress. I could feel that something inside me was changing. It was like my brain had worked quietly all night. And when I opened my eyes, it gave me a small gift. Sometimes that gift was a new word. Sometimes it was a phrase. Sometimes it was just a feeling of confidence. But it was always something good. One morning, I woke up and said softly, I am learning English every day. I didn't plan to say it, it just came out naturally. That was the moment I understood that sleep learning was working. My mind was learning quietly while I rested. But I also realized something else. What you do after you wake up matters just as much as what you do before sleeping. Morning is the bridge between your sleeping brain and your waking mind. If you use your morning the right way, your learning becomes much stronger. So I built what I now call my morning magic routine. It was simple, but it gave me power. Right after waking up, I never rushed. I didn't check my phone. I didn't think about work or stress. I sat up slowly, took a deep breath, and gave my brain a moment of peace. Then I asked myself, what do I remember from last night's English? I didn't force it, I just waited. And every time, something came back. A line, a word, a sound. I repeated it out loud. That small action made my brain active again. It turned sleepy knowledge into real memory. After that, I played the same English audio again, but this time while I was fully awake. It was magical to hear the same sentences I had listened to during sleep. They sounded familiar. I could feel the rhythm. I could even guess what would come next. My brain was connecting the night and the morning together. It was like finishing a beautiful circle. I was not just listening anymore. I was understanding. Then I took my small notebook and wrote one or two sentences that I liked from the audio. Nothing big, just short, simple lines that felt meaningful. Sentences like, I am confident, or I can speak English clearly. Writing them helped me remember them better. Saying them aloud made them part of me. Every morning I repeated those words with emotion, as if I was reminding myself of who I wanted to become. Sometimes I practiced speaking to the mirror. I looked at myself and repeated the sentences with a smile. At first, it felt strange, but soon it became powerful. I wasn't only practicing English, I was practicing confidence. I was building belief in myself. My mirror became my first listener, my first teacher, and my first audience. Those small morning talks changed how I felt about my English. They made me feel alive and proud. After a few weeks, I noticed a big change in my daily life. My mornings felt bright and full of energy. My focus improved, my speaking became smoother, and my fear slowly disappeared. I no longer said, I can't. I started saying, I can and I will. That shift came from my mornings, because every morning reminded me that I was learning in my sleep, and now I was continuing it awake. This routine made me realize something powerful. Learning English is not about how many hours you study. It's about how you connect your moments. The night gives you the input. The morning gives you the output. Together they build fluency. You don't need long lessons or pressure. You just need small steps repeated with love and patience. Now every morning feels like a victory to me. I wake up knowing that my brain didn't waste the night. It learned, it grew, it worked for me. And all I have to do is continue the magic. So if you want your sleep learning to really work, never skip your morning moment. It's the key that unlocks everything your mind collected during the night. That is my morning magic. It's calm, it's simple, it's powerful. And it reminds me every day that success in English doesn't come from working harder. It comes from working smarter, with peace in your heart and purpose in your mind. Chapter 7. The Lazy Way Became My Smart Way. When I first began this journey, I called it the lazy way. I laughed at myself, thinking I had found the easiest trick ever. I just listened to English while sleeping. No stress, no heavy studying. It sounded too simple to be true. But over time, I realized something powerful. This was not lazy at all. It was smart. It was peaceful. It was the kind of learning that worked with my life, not against it. The more I followed my sleep routine, the more confident I became. I was no longer scared of English. I was no longer tired of studying. I felt light. I felt free. I understood that real learning doesn't always come from books or long hours. Sometimes it comes from small habits done with love and consistency. My lazy way turned into my daily joy. Each night when I closed my eyes, I felt excited, not worried. I knew that my brain was working for me even when I rested. I started to notice small miracles. Words I couldn't pronounce before now came out easily. Sentences that used to confuse me suddenly made sense. My ears caught small details in English movies and songs. My confidence grew with every small win. I realized that my mind had started to think in English naturally. It didn't need to translate anymore. It just flowed. That was the moment I knew this method had changed not only my English, but also my mindset. Many people believe that learning must be painful. They think if you are not struggling, you are not learning. But I learned that peace can teach you more than pressure. When your mind is calm, it remembers better. When you enjoy the process, your progress never stops. My lazy way was actually full of smart choices. I had stopped forcing myself. I had started trusting my brain. I gave it English and it gave me fluency in return. There were still days when I felt slow, some nights when I didn't feel any progress. But I reminded myself that growth is silent. You can't always see it, but it's happening like a seed under the soil. It takes time to show its first leaf. You just have to keep watering it. Every night of sleep learning was like watering that seed. I didn't see the change immediately, but one day I realized my English had grown strong and beautiful. Now, when I look back, I feel proud. I didn't quit. I didn't let pressure break me. I simply changed my way. I learned that learning English doesn't need to be difficult. It needs to be personal. It needs to fit your life. And for me, learning while sleeping was not just an idea. It was a transformation. It turned my fear into faith. It turned my stress into calm. It turned my lazy nights into learning nights. So, if you are watching this and still thinking, can this really work for me? My answer is yes. It can. Start small. Pick one audio. Listen every night before sleep. Don't expect perfection. Just stay consistent. You'll start noticing small changes. Your understanding will improve. Your confidence will rise. And one day, you'll wake up realizing that you didn't just learn English in your sleep, you learned how to learn in peace. That is the power of this lazy way. It's not about doing less, it's about doing it differently. It's about learning with peace, not panic. It's about trusting your brain and believing in the process. You don't need to force yourself, you just need to give your mind the right environment to grow. So tonight, when you go to bed, close your eyes with hope. Play your English audio. Let your brain do the rest. Because the truth is, your dream of speaking English is already awake inside you. You just need to listen. You just need to trust. And you'll see that your lazy way will soon become your smart way too. If you found this idea inspiring, don't wait. Try it tonight and share your experience in the comments. Let's build a community of smart English learners who learn with peace, not pressure. Like this video, subscribe to Unleash Your English, and remember, your English can grow even while you sleep.